Shot the yellow.
Entrepreneurship, it's our game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all, so don't mess up.
And good evening, good morning, as my co-host Stuart would say, wherever in the world you are locked on, whatever time you're listening to this podcast, welcome to the Big Potato Podcast. Yep, the Big Potato Podcast. Episode number 9. We are mighty fine. I'm telling you, we're having a good time. For sure. Yours truly, Kendall. I'm here yet again alongside my co-host, Stuart. Stuart, what's up, man?
I am good. Episode 9, as I said, wrapping up season 2. Very excited, as usual, about this episode. We have a very, very special guest. You know, people from South, that area, they're nice people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we have a nice guest to introduce to the audience tonight. Excited and ready to go.
Fantastic, man. So I'm telling you guys, we are rolling. This is the Big Potato Podcast. Of course, you already know what our purpose or aim is here. And I'll be using that word purpose a lot tonight. It's light-hearted discussion, delivering strategic business insights as we empower entrepreneurs for today's business landscape. We've touched on so many industries, Stuart, so many industries. We've had special editions to help entrepreneurs in each and every one of their fields, their sectors, their industries, to understand how to grow their business, how to even protect their ideas. I mean, we've gone far and wide. And as Stuart said, we are on the verge of not only wrapping up 2024, but also wrapping up season 2 very soon. So without further ado, let me introduce tonight's guest on the Big Potato Podcast. And by the way, remember you need to follow us at the Big Potato Podcast on all social media platforms. And feel free to send us your feedback, send us an email to the Big Potato Podcast at gmail.com. Now, usually I take our guest's bio, I'll let the cat out of the bag, and usually I'll change it up a bit, to format it differently and so on. But when I received this bio today, I was like, this is perfect. I don't need to do anything here. So our guest tonight has journeyed from being an HR professional to a purpose-driven entrepreneur. She has touched hearts worldwide. This is global, folks. Founder of Purpose Diaries. She empowers entrepreneurs to transform pain into purpose and unlock multiple streams of income. I can't wait to hear about that. Transitioning from corporate to coach, she has been able to build borderless business. Get ready to be inspired tonight by her electrifying speaking style and authentic wisdom. Without further ado, let me introduce and welcome to the Big Potato Podcast tonight, Miss Crisha Bowen. Crisha, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am excited while you were reading the bio with so much flair and spice. I got even more excited about our conversation because I know your audience is one that is open to hosting or owning purpose-driven businesses. So I can't wait to see how our discussion unfolds. Thank you guys for having me on the Big Potato Podcast.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. I mean, Stuart and I, we are also interested in looking purpose-driven businesses. This is what we do. As we say, this is our form of social entrepreneurship. Stuart?
Well, as I said at the intro, we've covered many industries, and this is another special edition.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go all the way back to episode 1, season 1, And throughout, we've been talking about finding your passion, but we want to really add some meat on those bones tonight, because following your passion is one thing, but a lot of other things go into finding the right passion, because you could find purpose in many different things. But this episode here should really help the audience understand for their entrepreneurial journey, it's not just passion.
Passion with a purpose.
I guess based on some of the topics we will discuss, it'll assist them in their journey in terms of making their decisions, in terms of how they can really impact the world with their passion. So, yeah, again, I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I mean, as we read there in Crisha's bio, I don't think the bio even does justice to the amount of work and the amount of stuff that she does. But we definitely will get into that a little bit later on. First of all, folks, you guys know what time it is. It's time for our first segment. It's called What Caught Our Eye. And you know this segment, how it goes. It's basically quick, key entrepreneurial insights on articles or stories of significance. This week, I'll kick it off with an article that I came across in Forbes, actually coming from the Forbes Coaching Council, the importance of a business coach. Now, athletes have coaches. That's, I think, the main thing. When you hear the word coach being used, you think about a sports person or an athlete. But in business, there are also coaches. And it's actually very, very important, especially for entrepreneurs. And the article basically, just to surmise, spoke about the fact that many entrepreneurs, as Stuart said, have great ideas, but often lack the knowledge, the strategy, or the experience to execute them successfully. And while, you could go to school, you could get the theory, you could start doing your business and see how things go, it's very important sometimes as well to have a coach or a mentor that would be able to guide you. And these are some of the reasons why. In terms of leveraging that mentorship culture, remember, coaches, they actually value guiding and assisting people to develop. So it's important not only for you, but it's important for them too. And, as I say that, it's important to have the right fit as a coach as well. Also, for strategic advantages as well, in terms of the fact that seasoned business coaches, they have gone through it already. All right. They can help you gain a competitive edge in your business by strategically helping you to position or understand certain elements of your business and to guide you through the complexities of entrepreneurship. Of course, by all means, they can help you accelerate your success as well and minimize mistakes for obvious reasons. They would have walked this path and gone through what they have gone through already. And the fact that they would have had some stumbles and fumbles, they can now help assist you in terms of what you can look out for. They can also help you to optimize your brand, your personal brand, your business brand as well. And I mean, I could go through the entire list, but I think you have the gist of what we're talking about here in this article already. Remember, continuous growth happens through coaching as well. It's not a one-time need, but an ongoing requirement. As I said earlier, just like athletes need continual training, entrepreneurs benefit from consistent mentorship to refine their skills and achieve goals as well. Aside from the best fit for you, it's always noteworthy to look for a coach or to find a coach that has walked a path that you would like to walk, journeyed along a particular industry or sector that you would like to journey as well. So if you're out there as an entrepreneur and you've been thinking about how can I elevate my skills, how can I elevate my business, and how can I advance, maybe coaching is something that you can look into. And even coaches need coaches. Crisha, any feedback on this?
Yes, absolutely, Kendell. This is totally in alignment with my belief because I believe your next level is always unlocked through a coach. Whether we want to admit it or not, because of the definitions people put on a coach. From birth, you've had a coach. Some parent, some grandparent, some teacher, some friend, somebody that you looked up to actually coached you from birth to now. And we've changed hands with different types of coaches based on the need, based on our development, based on our growth. Now as adults, especially adults in business, we can now make that choice of the type of coach that we want to go in the direction that we need to go into. If we could have unlocked our next level ourselves, we would already be there. But the next level really stands on the other side of a coach, because the coach has the ability to unlock doors that you are standing at. It's like they open doors that you want to enter. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that coaching as an industry, having a coach, and like you rightly said, a coach that matches and fits you is definitely necessary for all parts of your life journey.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. And I'm sure that we'll get into that a little more later on. Stuart, what do you think, buddy?
I agree with Crisha said just now there about the next level being unlocked by our coach. That's true words right there. My takeaway from that article really is no business will carry no risk. All business have risk, whether it's 5%, 40%, 60%. Now, when you bring a mentor into the equation, you're benefiting from all of these things you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. So that will reduce your risk of failure as a company. So young entrepreneurs, look for the mentors. Reduce your risk of failure. It wouldn't guarantee success. Nothing would guarantee success, really. Another thing to consider is that when people considering the valuation for their business, risk is an important factor to consider. Mm-hmm. So anytime you could reduce your risk, you're increasing the valuation for your company. So that's just what I want to add to your articles there. Bring the mentor in, reduce your risk of failure, and grow your company valuation.
You definitely would put yourself and your brand and your company on a different level. Is that not so, Crisha?
Definitely, because they have the ability to see your blind spots. Mm-hmm. As business owners, we all have, as people in general, we all have blind spots. And those blind spots are those areas where risk lies. Mm-hmm. A lot of entrepreneurs tend to be risk averse. But as Stuart rightly said, risk is part of the journey. Sometimes we might say, I wish I could have sped up the journey or I could have been here faster, but we don't realize that every failure, every step, every attempt, every tear, every laughter, everything that we did contributed to the success in the long run. So we can't say we wish we skipped the part where we failed, or we can't say we wish we skipped the part where we took a risk and it didn't pay off, because in that risk is learning. Mm-hmm. One of my mentors says entrepreneurship is a thinking sport. May the best thinker win.
I love that.
And the thing about risk is it teaches you how to think.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know exactly what not to do and what to do based on that experience. So we cannot remove risk from the equation. But even greater than the risk is the learning while we face the risk, and learning to think business, not just run business.
Fantastic.
What we always talk about, Kendell, the lessons learned.
All the lessons learned folder.
You must have a lessons learned folder. You must have it.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, what I'm hearing here is that each leader, each business leader out there can benefit greatly from coaching and mentoring. And as we mentioned, leadership. Stuart, I know something caught your eye this week.
Well, what caught my eye is an article on Entrepreneur.com by Tracy Marlowe. Now, this article came out on 25th of November, 2024.
Fresh
off the press. All right, but the article is, it's time to move beyond authoritative leadership. 3 ways to lead with integrity and purpose. It's a very in-depth article. I will just skim through, what really caught my eye with it. So, 1, lead by example. Number 2, empower others with a purpose-driven culture. And then 3, prioritize transparency. Now, to sum up the article, again, I encourage you to read it, but it really states that in high-trust workplaces, are 76% more engaged and 29% more satisfied with their lives. Having a office space, a workplace that is really focused on purpose, it brings you to work. And they go on to state that leadership isn't about power, it's about purpose. And purpose-driven leadership fosters engagement, trust, and long-term loyalty. The transparency will build trust, boost team support, and organizational insight. And then empowering employees with purpose creates stronger, mission-aligned company cultures. So, again, I encourage the audience to read the article. It's very, very in-depth, but those are some of the key takeaways that I took from it. Any comments?
I absolutely love purpose-driven leadership, right? I think purpose should probably be my new name. But one of the reasons why purpose-driven leadership works is because as a leader, you are sharing vision and you're getting buy-in to the vision. People now feel a part of what they are building, and there's this collaboration to build. Like the article mentioned, with authoritative type leadership where it's, do as I say, or this is how we do things around here, you tend to have people more fear motivated or doing things just because their paycheck is tied to the action. So they're not doing it from a place of we are building a collective vision, but they're building it from a place of I work here, this is what pays the bills. They said I have to do this, so I'm going to do this. When you bring in purpose into leadership, I always talk about the MVP concept, which is most valuable player in sports. And we talked about coaching and sports, but it's also, I use it as an acronym for mission, vision, purpose. Every foundation should start, and even in leadership, start with a clear mission, which is what are we doing? A clear purpose, why are we doing it? And a clear vision, where are we going when we do what we do? So this type of leadership will always have like you said, 76% higher chance of a successful workplace where people enjoy being there because the leadership is purpose driven and it's collective growth versus do this because I said and your money is tied to it.
Awesome.
Wow. I mean, Stuart, I feel like we already dropping bombs here,
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, that can't hide. Bomb just falling.
And I agree with all that has been said in terms of purpose-driven leadership. There definitely has been a shift away from the command and control type of leadership. Or at least we hope that most entrepreneurs, most business leaders of this here time would be shifting to more engaging with their employees, sharing their vision, endorsing feedback, allowing for the employees to buy into the vision as well. That MVP that Crisha just mentioned, I love it. Mission, vision, purpose. We spoke to every single entrepreneur on this podcast in all, how many now? 19 episodes and all that we've done so far. And each one of them have spoken about exactly that. And I think I'll shorten on those 19. It could be more.
Yeah, this is episode 21.
Yeah. right. So my bad to my big potato audience, but every single entrepreneur has spoken about leading with that passion and that purpose in order to be successful. Sorry about that, Crisha. I know you wanted to jump in.
Oh no, I am just echoing it's a key element. Like, I don't think you could talk business without talking about why you're doing what you're doing. if you started without that MVP component, you started too late, and you probably need to go back and revisit the foundation, because as you start to build, if you don't have those key statements to refer to, like I call my mission my governing statement. I say this is what governs the actions of whatever I do. So if there's an opportunity that comes, there's a business deal, there's something that I'm pursuing, I look to see, is this aligned with my mission, which is what I say I'm going to do? Does this align with my governing statement? So these are foundational things as business owners. Sometimes when we do the business degrees or we go through business courses, this is the boring stuff, because we want to get to the sales, the marketing, the content, 6 figures, 7 figures, but we don't want to sit with the foundation. Who am I? Why am I doing this? What am I doing? Where am I going with this vision? But the boring stuff, Kendell and Stuart, the boring stuff is important.
It is.
Definitely. And well, as a leader, just on an operational, on a management level, you want to know your workers are passionate and energized to come to work. You want to know they have a high morale and that they kind of loyal to the company. They're not ready to just give you 2 weeks notice and disappear. And that is the importance of the purpose. Because companies, where the employees don't feel like they are part of a larger purpose, they suffer from burnout. Morale is low. And there's high turnover. So it's in the leader's interest just to make sure that they have the MVP.
Of course. And as we heard from so many of the entrepreneurs on the podcast, when your employees and your team, because we spoke a lot about team, especially in the first season, buys into your vision, buys into the purpose that you're really trying to achieve, it's almost like they represent you. They represent everything about you and about your business, and they would make the decisions and do the work with a different sense of, purpose. Just like you would put it forward, which is hugely important to all entrepreneurs. So all entrepreneurs, as we wrap up this, our first segment, what caught our eye, remember, lead with purpose and make sure that you have settled and live by your principles of your MVP, your mission, vision, and purpose. Crisha, I think you need to coin that.
I absolutely do.
We talked about trademarks last week. That's it for What Caught Our Eye, brought to you by IBOMAQ. Whether you're seeking guidance or solutions for your business, we're here to help. Contact us via IBOMAQ868@gmail.com. That's IBOMAQ868@gmail.com. And let's discuss how we can collaborate for your success. Welcome back, you guys, to the Big Potato Podcast. Yep, episode 9. So far, we've been having a very good conversation. Some of the foundational stuff that you must do as a business leader, as an entrepreneur of any age or any stage. Maybe you started off your business without outlining what your mission and your vision and your real purpose for your business and for yourself. But it's not too late. You can review. And in this segment, we'll tell you exactly how you can do that. Our special guest tonight, Crisha Sarah Bowen. She's online with us tonight, delivering some major insights already. And Crisha, we must know a little bit more about your background. I saw in your bio that you are HR professional, and now you've transitioned fully into entrepreneurship and really delivering purposeful businesses. Now, how did that come about? Tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Where did that entrepreneurial bug bite you?
I think, that I've always had a desire to become an entrepreneur. My mother would say, when I was younger that I used to be making money out of paper, and I was always selling to the stuffed toys and to the dolls and doing some type of exchange. But as I grew up, I started to become a part of the build-a-box culture. And build-a-box culture is when you look at other people's results to determine what you should build. So we look at external people, we look at what they have done, and we try to follow, that particular path or their footsteps. So I did those things. They said you should get a good education. I did the bachelor's degree in business administration. Or they said you should master it. I did the master's in small and medium enterprise management. I did HR certification. I did all the things that people say you should do to feel like a success. But I recognize while in my career, though I loved what I did, there was this missing piece or this sense of dissatisfaction. And I had to ask myself, Crisha, who are you? What are you doing outside of this job title, outside of where you sit in your position? Who are you? Now, funny thing is that I started and failed at 6 businesses. So we talked earlier about risk and failure. I am now in my 7th business, 8 years full-time as a coach, and now COO of another educational company. But it was after failing at 6 businesses. There's nothing that I haven't done, guys. I sold coffee, I sold makeup, I had a clothing boutique store, I did handbags, jewelry, like wherever there was a business, you found Crisha. But the thing about those businesses, I built it from buy low, sell high, not really from a purposeful place. So I knew that I had a passion for business, entrepreneurship. So any opportunity that came became my opportunity. Even though I feel that those 6 businesses, I see that they position me with the insight that I have now, even as a coach, and also coupled with my HR career, those things really shaped that desire that was there from a child to now standing, as a successful entrepreneur.
Fantastic. I mean, a lot of our guests usually would say, all right, there was that moment, that specific, I guess, indicator that, all right, you know what, it's time to wrap it up on this, probably corporate life, and step fully, really take that leap of faith into entrepreneurship. Did you have a moment like that as well?
I won't say I had a leap, I had a push. So I am risk averse. The thing that we talked about, I feel like Stuart was talking about me when he talked about that, because I never liked risk. So I wanted to stay comfortable in the job, make the paycheck, and build the business on the side. But there were some things that happened, and then I had a major accident, and there were things that, really pushed me from that corporate space. But I didn't realize my side hustle or my side business that I was running about a year had actually already replaced my income, but I did not realize it. So I was holding on to this paycheck because it felt secure, not realizing that my business was already making and surpassing that income that I was generating. So the push came when I had this major accident and I could no longer sit at my desk to perform my duties in HR. And I simply had to transition. That transition, I would say, so I don't think it was a willing jump or leap. I think it was you can no longer do this, but there is something else. You're going to do that.
Right. And thanks for sharing that as well. And Stuart, as we know, getting into entrepreneurship or becoming an entrepreneur happens in various ways. Sometimes you are pushed into it because of circumstances.
Definitely. But what I want to touch on is something that Crisha just said. Any opportunity that came was her business.
Yeah.
Until she found her purpose. And then I also remember she said she had to ask herself, who are you? She felt as though there was no passion in the HR capacity. So my question is, was there a process? You ask yourself, who are you? But was there more to that process in terms of discovering your purpose?
Absolutely. So that's where my business name comes from, Purpose Diaries. I actually started to write. So I would ask myself this question, who are you? And I would actually try to answer it every single day in my diary because I could not answer it. Sometimes we think that these questions we tell people to ask themselves and self-reflect and get deep and get in touch with themselves, that they can really answer those questions. Those are tough questions.
Yes.
So I had to sit with myself and my diary and keep answering that question to excavate who Crisha was, because Crisha was buried under things that society said you should do, under things that I learned, experience, environment. So I got to a point where I myself didn't even know, because it was like a shell of me operating in a position, but not really sure, do I like this? Do I not like this? So it really was me writing. I call it Diaries of Purpose. I had to write that question, must have been like 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
And every time I wrote, I got something deeper and covered something else. And that really started the journey of purpose discovery. It was not a case of sitting and just knowing how to answer that question or even having the answer.
Were there, I know we spoke a little bit about it in the What Caught Our Eye segment, but even at that time, I'm sure now there are, but at that time, did you have any coaches, mentors, anybody guiding your probably your entrepreneurial pursuits?
At that time, I don't think I really knew what a coach or mentor was, because it was not a very exposed term or concept, especially for us in the region. So this was like 2015 or so. I think the coaching space was now something that we were hearing about and being exposed to. I just knew I wanted something different and something more, but I didn't know what the something different or something more was. I actually started a video blog that I called Diaries of Purpose, writing Diaries of Purpose. I did not realize that that was my business. So I started going live on Periscope at that time. I'm probably dating or aging myself.
Periscope?
I was on Periscope. And I would go live every Monday, Kendell, and I would talk about just this journey of discovering purpose, how confused I felt, that I had this great corporate job and I still felt empty. And it's really in writing and talking that out, my business was formed, because other people started to say, I feel the same way, I can relate. That, I think, opened my eyes up to coaching and the experience of coaching, because I started to hear other voices on Periscope that were speaking a little bit ahead of me and where I was. And at that time, I think my eyes became open to a coach and the power of coaching.
That is profound, and I really thank you for sharing that. And it also, I think, says a lot about sharing, with your potential audience. Stuart, what's my favorite word?
Opportunity.
That is exactly what was unlocked by Crisha sharing her stories. As an entrepreneur, you have to find the best problems to solve, right? And by sharing how she felt and being that, I guess, that raw and that direct with her audience, she started finding opportunities, finding like-minded people, finding potential customers and clients, because maybe with her expertise and in her capacity, she could help them. Brilliant, yes, Stuart?
Brilliant. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. But my question is, was that your first writing venture, Diaries with Purpose?
It absolutely was, and it became my very first book, which is also same title, Purpose Diaries, How to Activate Your Faith and to Experience Success on Your Own Terms. Because I went through a season of really finding what success was for me. As I mentioned, I was doing Build a Box, like what did success look like for other people, and I was trying to kind of mirror, pattern that. So my very first book, which came as a result of answering or asking myself that question every day, was my first book, Purpose Diaries.
No, the reason I asked that question is because there will be obviously many models in terms of how to discover and define your purpose. But one of them I came across was from the Harvard Business Review. And they say the first stage is life engagement. Seek diverse experiences. So that's why I asked if that was your first book. So apparently, you did some life engagement, and then you have to do some self-reflection and take some social feedback. And now it seems as though you found your purpose. So I find it was very interesting that from that leap of faith to right, and all of a sudden you have a whole new direction, a whole new vision of your purpose. Because a study was done and only like 20% of youth really have a clear vision of a purpose for themselves. So sometimes you have to go through some steps, some stages to really find that. And it seems as though you did that.
I absolutely did. One of the quotes that I always say, and it's also in my book, is that pain teaches principle. Principle can be duplicated. Principle becomes process. Process becomes program.
Mm-hmm.
Any painful experience that we've gone through in our life, it really does become a powerful part of our story, because the reason why we get scolded or spanking, it's because that pain is to teach you a lesson. Don't do this again, or this is unpleasant to the adult or whoever is issuing the sanction. But it teaches a principle. Now, principles can always be duplicated. You could teach principles because through that principle, you develop a process. That process now becomes program, and program becomes profit. So I start looking at everything that I've been through to that point and will continue to live through becomes a part of my principle, becomes a part of my process, and then it becomes my program. And programs become profit.
Programs become profit.
Brilliant. I write it all,
Yeah. Hope you guys taking your notes out there, Don't play no ting as we say here. And Crisha, just to kind of bring this point home before we move along, in terms of maybe advising those who are listening right now, because I know a lot of people just turned up the volume. They say, yeah, boy, she understands exactly what I'm going through right now. What is probably a basic or simple starting point to really start engaging with oneself in doing introspection, I guess, to find that purpose? Maybe the first 2 or 3 things that you have to do. I know Stuart mentioned a model, you mentioned your process as well. But for the purpose of our entrepreneurs or audience locked on, where can they start?
Absolutely. Great question. And I think the starting point is always a defining moment. So you think back into your life story and think about the first painful experience that you can remember, or the first defining moment. Usually there's a key in that moment that can allude to what your purpose is. So as a child, I was very shy, quiet, introverted. I'm still very introverted. People will never believe it because when they hear me speak and share, they're like, oh no, she's absolutely an extrovert. I'm not. But as a child growing up, people would always label and say, oh, she's shy and she doesn't speak. And, and that label really led me down a path in my career where I actually wanted to work with computers and not people. I always said, I think I just want to work with software, computers, and never with people. Well, the irony of my story is that I would go into a path of business development and HR and now become a coach, which is the direct opposite of what I was hearing the labels as a child.
Right.
So those labels sometimes become distractions because we are most powerful in our purpose, but it's also the thing that's greatly attacked.
Mm-hmm.
The longer we take to define what it is, the longer we stay in confusion. So if you think about if there were things you were teased about, or there's a meme on social media that says, all those who talks a lot on their report card, what are you doing right now? And most people are like speakers or trainers, or they talk in terms of their business. So when you go through your life, that excavation I talked about, asking yourself, who am I? Go back as far as you remember to what is a defining moment or experience that you had with yourself or an individual. What were some of the labels that people put on you that kind of kept you away from pursuing that true purpose. That, I think, guys, is one of the biggest things. Because when I wrote that, it blew my mind open because I said, wait a minute. They said, she's shy. She doesn't speak. She's an introvert. But I'm actually called to speak to millions. I'm actually shy as a person. But once I step into purpose, I become very bold in my area of dominance. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is really looking at those areas of pain or defining moments, I call them. And really saying, what was the secret that those defining moments were trying to tell me?
And I think that that's an excellent starting point. I mean, from the time you start really, as you said, redefining what is happening, understanding, well, maybe this affected me so much. Because like Crisha, I mean, I am also a very quiet person when you see me on a normal day. And people are very surprised when it is we do what we do. But again, we lead with purpose. We understand who we are. We understand what our purpose is. And our purpose on this podcast is to empower entrepreneurs.
As the Japanese would say, to be looking for our ikigai, a reason for living.
Mm-hmm.
And if you recollect, we started with what is needed out there. Then we thought about what competence we have, what we're good at, what we love doing, and trying to find a way to get paid for it. So that's a good way to the question you asked about trying to find your purpose as well, you know. What does the world need? What are you good at? And, you know, what you love doing and how you could get paid for it. But that leads me to a question in terms of sometimes there'll be a conflict between what you're good at and what you like to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'd love to get some clarification in terms of which one you should lean on if you're really trying to find your true purpose.
I love that question. So one of my core beliefs is you do what you have to do until you could do what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not by any means saying, okay, because you love to do this, that you should abandon everything else and just go in the pursuit of the love. Because there are moments that you have to do certain things until you could do what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I lean heavily because of my business background on Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm.
If the other parts of the pyramid are not fulfilled, self-actualization sits at the top.
Yep.
So sometimes the have to do comes into play to manage everything else at the base of that pyramid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of pursuing your love, what I teach and my philosophy is, even if you're doing what you have to do to transition to do what you love to do, you should never neglect doing what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be weaved into some part of your daily experience. People think purpose is something you switch on or off, or you put on or off, or it's only related to business, or it's only related to career. Purpose does not have any category. Purpose is a part of your existence. You are one person for everything in your life, and that purpose transcends all parts of your life. So if you are in a position now where you're doing something that you have to do until you transition to do what you love to do, what you should do is design your exposure around what you love to do. So if you are, let's say, in corporate, like I was at that point in time, and I knew that I had greater desire, I would sit with people in leadership. I would be the one to volunteer for the things nobody's volunteering for. I would stay back late. I would do certain things that tapped into my passion. While I was doing the have to do, I was finding places where the love to do could be plugged in. So you should never exhaust your life fully with all the have to do's and not plug in the love to do, even if it means you do it 1 hour a day, even if it means you do it on the weekend, even if it means you just design your life in a way that that thing that you love should never be neglected, because you would not enjoy your life. Even though self-actualization sits at the top of the pyramid, it's important. So life feels miserable when the love to do is neglected because of the have to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Stuart, we have to do work, we have to do chores, we have to do all these other things, you know. We really would love to just play basketball all day, watch sports all day, maybe.
Watch some Champions League, watch some NBA,
you know,
play some basketball. Yeah. We love to do what we love to do.
Exactly.
I don't want to be too philosophical, but Carl Jung, he said purpose is found in things that you're willing to suffer for.
Mm-hmm.
A mother will find purpose for her child. She'll be willing to suffer through certain things for her child. My boy, Socrates, sacrificed himself for truth, justice, honor. You see, the thing is, if you do nothing but just focus on what you have to do, all that energy you invest for your whole life, when you die, all that energy you invested is wasted.
What's the legacy? What was the impact?
It's a meaningless life.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find purpose in your life so that it doesn't even seem like sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to bring some of that into it as well.
Shedding light into Plato's cave, my friend.
As you mentioned, Plato. Plato sacrificed himself as well. He sacrificed himself for liberty and freedom. He was willing to live under tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about a bigger purpose.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to wrap up this segment. We've spoken a lot about purpose in this segment. And of course, free plug for Crisha. You could check her LinkedIn, and you could get some more content and contact her. You could really talk to her, and she can help you to walk through some of these things. So now that we have established this platform, we want to go to the profitability side of things a little bit. So when we return, we're going to talk a little bit about how entrepreneurs, even the Big Potato podcast, how can we, as thought leaders with purpose, be profitable? Stick around. From Ibadan to Helyard, from slavery to independence, learn how Helyard, the Trinidad All-Stars, created the Trini identity and how that was leveraged for our independence. Get your copy on Amazon now. And we're back on the Big Potato podcast. That's right. Yours truly, Kendell. I'm here. My co-host Stuart is here as usual. And we're having a fantastic, purposeful discussion with Crisha Sarah Bowen. She's dropping bombs tonight. She is in her full element, sharing all the good stuff in terms of how you can find or even redefine your purpose, the importance of doing so, how you could build some real good habits from just understanding what your purpose is, because it governs how you live your personal brand, your business brand as an entrepreneur, as a business leader. It helps you to understand what you are doing. It guides you in terms of your principles and making decisions. Stuart, jump in and let us know in this segment what you would like to hear from Crisha.
Well, just going back a bit to finding your purpose. There's a lot of dangers when people analyze themselves, right? I mentioned the life engagement, the self-reflection, and the social feedback. But it's really like, you have to consider it like a Venn diagram, where the three of them intersecting.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you only focus on the life engagement and the self-reflection without taking any social feedback, you're already self-focused. If you focus on the self-reflection and the social feedback and not take on any life engagement, you're a ruminator. If you only focus on the life engagement and the social feedback without any self-reflection, you're kind of over-socialized.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to ask Crisha some of the dangers, some of those dangers, some additional dangers, some of the critical things they should look at when they're doing this find your purpose exercise.
Stuart, one of the things about purpose, it's a discovery and it's a journey. So it's not a one-time discovery. You would always learn new things about yourself as we continue to live and experience life. So the journey of purpose is not just a one-time discovery. Sometimes you live in one moment or one season of your life, a certain expression of your purpose, but then that purpose evolves. So one of the things that I would caution or say that you can look out for, it's not a one-time discovery to say, yeah, I know what my purpose is. I was designed and called to speak. But there would maybe another time where you start learning more of who you are, and that purpose evolves as you begin to grow. Like the Crisha now is not the Crisha of 2015. Like my thought has developed, my process have developed based on experience, and my purpose has evolved. Yes, the general essence and components of that purpose still remains, right? Because I believe that my purpose is to help others to push past pain and passionately pursue purpose. I have an assignment to the lives of people looking to live in purpose and build purposeful businesses. So because of that assignment, every year of my life or every season of my life equips me with something for the purpose I'm already living. So it's an evolution. It's not a once discovered, always discovered, and that's the be all and end all. It's every season, every moment of my life, I'm learning more of who I already am. It's just awakening to me because it may have been covered, buried, I'm not aware of it, but that self-discovery and that doing the work like we spoke about, doing, like you said, that Venn diagram, you realize that you evolve and you grow more and more into who you already are.
Mm-hmm. So who you would have been in 2015 and who you are now, two totally different people. Technology has changed, the world has changed, the best problems to solve have changed. So is it that you may need to have a strategy so that every few years you not only do another exercise or self-reflection exercise, but you may need to actually become a serial entrepreneur or just have different projects going on and adding on, and it seems like it might be a challenge.
It's a challenge if you go wide. So there is this concept that I teach in business of going deeper versus wider. Wider is adding more elements that do not connect. So when I was doing business based on opportunity, Kendall's favorite word, and I was, anybody came to me, I jumped at it. I was actually going wider because I was just looking at where can I invest money to give me some type of returns. When you talk about going deeper, it's going deeper on one core topic, one message, one belief, one idea. The mistake entrepreneurs make is we try to go wide before we go deep. So before we have success in one particular thought, one area, one product, one service, we add something else because we think adding more things means more income. People think multiple streams just means, oh, I'm running 7, 8 businesses. If you're doing that, you're probably running yourself thin because you can't give everything equal time, energy, effort.
Exactly.
What you should do is go deep enough on one particular thought, one particular idea, one particular product or service before you go wide, go deep. And that is the difference between those that get overwhelmed and burnt out and give up versus those that continue to live and explore and go deeper in their purpose.
Awesome. Fantastic. Brilliant. I'm telling you. I hope you guys listening, I literally am here just taking notes. And I want to tap into that real quick, Crisha, because you mentioned earlier that this is actually your 7th venture, that you failed at 6 businesses before.
Yes.
And in entrepreneurship, it is key and important to realize that your rate of failure is so high. I mean, when you look at the numbers, you look at the data, it is astronomically high. And I think that some people look at that data if they see it and they get turned off. If they don't see it when they start as an entrepreneur, they start feeling it and they get turned off and they end the journey pretty quick before they even go deeper into what their purpose is, the business that they're trying to do, their core business, and probably from that core, look at stems that they can then use to branch out into multiple streams of income. So that's also an important factor. Rather than maybe trying to run 6 different businesses, as you said, and burning yourself out and not giving yourself really the time, the energy, the focus needed to put into one venture. Perhaps, as Crisha said, you need to go deeper. Now, tapping back into those failures, what were some of the key lessons learned that you're able to, now knowing and understanding your purpose, really inculcate into your successful business that you're running right now?
One of the main things is that I had no prior knowledge of any of those businesses, right? It was just opportunities that presented itself to me, and I went logic-based, really looking at, okay, if you invest $10 and you sell this for $20, you'd make $10. Like, I just went in like fully logic and not really tapping into who I was, my skills, my abilities, things that I knew. So because of that knowledge gap, I think my failure in those businesses was because I was just trying to do it from a logic standpoint, and I was just doing math. So it was just a math equation. It wasn't really any strategy behind it, any thought behind it. And I also was not an expert at any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Now with this business, the difference is I have become a student of my voice. So I live my life with so many frameworks that help me to be consistent even as I evolve in purpose. So when I started to ask myself those questions and I started to dig deeper into who I really was, I designed my exposure around this journey. For example, when I had the boutique where I was selling bridal clothes, formal clothes for women, I ideally should have had a mentor in that space, and I should have exposed myself to information in that space. I did not. I was just buying the dresses from a wholesaler and retailing, and I had no real business acumen to put to that business. It didn't come from a passion place, and I was just doing math.
Mm-hmm.
So those businesses did not succeed because they weren't really tapped into purpose. Now, as I've tapped into purpose on a deeper level, if I wanted to, I could go back and run those businesses, and I would run them differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the thought process that I have, not just the business thought process, there's a lot of life discipline that comes with the entrepreneurial journey. Those things I think would help me to succeed, but I simply did not have it then. I was just out of school and I was doing math, simple math,
Right.
not really doing anything aligned to purpose.
So really identifying, just to double down on purpose yet again, understanding and really defining that purpose for yourself really helps. And the passion that we know entrepreneurship really is all about.
Yeah.
Stuart, I mean, you can't be an entrepreneur without passion.
Without passion. Very, very important to us. Again, you'll give up. A lot of the times, you have this. You see, entrepreneurs, when we're doing financial forecasts, what should I?
It's the best of the best.
All roses, What in reality will hit.
Mm-hmm.
It does it. And as you mentioned forecast, because I did say in this segment, we want to talk a little bit more about how purpose can really drive the profitability. And tell us a little bit about that, Crisha, because we have entrepreneurs locked on different industries, different fields, whatever they may be into, and they want to know how they could become more profitable. How can they deliver profitable businesses using purpose?
My first recommendation will always be, and this is from my vantage point, an educational process. Because of my philosophy that pain teaches principle, principle can be duplicated, it becomes process, process becomes program. I usually suggest documenting your journey, documenting the things that you are good at, and creating a systematic process from those things and teaching those things. So when people come to me in terms of building a purposeful business, my first thing is really to tap into who they are, their knowledge, their skills, their abilities. Okay, what do you know? What are you great at? What can you do in your sleep without much thought, without much effort? Then we start tapping into the education model.
Mm-hmm.
I tap into the education model because your life would have taught you some principles that you might be overlooking that you could monetize. Let's say that you are an introvert, but you are also extremely organized. Well, there are other introverts in the marketplace who are disorganized. You might be overlooking the part of your process of who you are and what you do by just living your life normally, how you organize your space, your closet, your workspace to be more high performing. Well, essentially, that's an educational product that you can now sell to the target audience of introverts who are struggling being disorganized, late for work, just because they don't have a organized environment. When I start talking like this, people, their eyes start opening and they're like, oh, wow, I never thought of that. Because I believe that your life, built into your life experiences, is a barter system. Everything that you know becomes a point of exchange. But because you know it, you think everyone else knows it. Because you do it effortlessly and normal, you think everyone else does. But the thing is, there are segments in every market that you can now use your process and you can turn that into profitability. So that's how I move from principle to process, process to program. And I encourage entrepreneurs to start with mapping out their process, even if they don't go into the educational product space. At least they know what they can leverage. And leverage is a powerful word in the business space. Because once you tap into your knowledge, skills and your abilities, and you understand who you are as an individual, you can now leverage this. Let's go back to our example of the entrepreneur who's extremely organized. You can now leverage that educational process in somebody else's business, in somebody else's corporation, where that skill is highly valued. Let's say in a production environment, for instance, or let's say where organization is high priority. You now have a high leverage skill that you probably overlooked because most of us end up in the resume mass mailing type of life. Like we just mail the resume, whoever hires me, and it's like sold to the highest bidder. Very rare do we look at what we have to leverage it. And that's why, Kendell, I start with educational products first, because I want to know what you know that we could sell.
Of course. I mean, opportunity, right?
Oh boy.
Yes.
But yes, go on. After the educational products, what else can we look at?
So from educational products, you have primary and secondary. Primary is the core product that you would develop, whatever that product is. Secondary is the things that complement that particular product. So when I started my business and I started doing the periscopes and the video blogs, actually what came out of that was a community of people that said, hey, we believe as you believe, we think as you think, we want to be a part of your network. Well, guess what? To be a part of that network became a membership.
Right.
From that membership, it then went into, I did my very first cruise in either 2016 or 17. I might be mixing up the years. But from going from a business idea, I now had people, strangers, connecting on the computer, looking at my videos, saying, yes, we want to cruise with you because we believe as you believe and we think as you think. So this now became a secondary product. My primary idea of purpose and purpose discovery was, okay, let's see what you know and how we can leverage it and how you can sell it and monetize it. But in addition to that, let's have our own community for people that think as we think and believe as we believe. In addition to that, why don't we just go on a cruise? We want fun and excitement as well. Let's do that. And from that, all of the secondary products came from one idea. That's why I say if you start with education, what you know, you could figure out different ways to leverage that thought and you'd build an entire business model from one idea with primary thoughts and secondary products that complement that primary thought.
What I'm hearing there as well is a lot of authenticity is required as well.
Yes. There's nothing new under the sun in terms of information. So everyone is sharing similar information, similar type of information.
Correct.
They say everything is Googleable. So you can Google almost anything and everything. What's not Googleable is your personality, your life experience, and your expression.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, with my tribe, people that think as I think and believe as I believe, I had to now share my belief from a place of very firm conviction to get people to say, oh, I believe that, or I want to know more about that, or I will connect to that because of me, Crisha, being authentic, sharing. The message of purpose has been around for eternity, and there are very different schools of thought, philosophers. It's not a new concept or idea, but my personality, my flair, my way of doing it would be different. In addition to the information that might be common, Crisha now brings a difference to the space.
Yeah. Points of differentiation also very important in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it sounds as though Crisha's definitely found her purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since back, in late 90s, I would say, the hot word was knowledge-based industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about, from what I'm hearing, finding your purpose, specializing your knowledge for that purpose, and then finding your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Crisha also mentioned that there are corporate avenues for the educational model. But my question is now on the, let's say, online courses. How does someone take their knowledge, their life experiences, their passion, their purpose, and convert that into actual course? You could use any example. You could use yourself. You could use Big Potato Podcast, How would you really go about converting that into a course that people are willing to pay for?
So I would use you guys, right, as the example. So
that's great.
That's it.
Let's say we were going with Big Potato Podcast and we were creating some online courses, educational products from the podcast. There are two first avenues that you start. Teach what you know and teach what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So in teaching what you know, you would teach what you know about businesses, you teach what you know about communication, teach what you know about people in the space of business. So that's just the knowledge base. Then we'd have teach what you do. Teach what you do in terms of how are you able to attract high-level guests for your podcast? How have you grown your audience? What's your system? What's your recording style? What's your preferred platform? What do you send to people before they come onto the podcast? All of that becomes a part of your process. So that's teaching what you do. The entire process of Big Potato, how it operates, becomes an online course. Because now you can tell someone, okay, I'm going to give you templates that you can send to your guests before they come on your show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Those templates become secondary products to the primary. The primary is I'm going to teach you how to start and leverage your very own business podcast.
Right.
In that course, you're going to have templates like emails that you send. How do you get guests? Creating a referral system, loyal listeners, getting sponsors, like everything that you do now becomes a part of that course. And just like that, Big Potato has a course on how to create your own business podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Then if it's teaching what you know in terms of your knowledge base, you look at your knowledge and your skill. We could go into interview style and technique. Like you guys have a very clear interview style of sharing, handing off, almost as if it's a marathon in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everyone doesn't know how to conduct an interview, and that's also a part of business. So you can now leverage as a speaker how to interview, how to conduct panels. There's so many avenues. You can tell I do this.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a free consult.
I have for the advice.
So please go on, Crisha.
Yes, pen is in hand.
So then you now have two streams of teaching what you know and teaching what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So you go down through everything that you know and you think, what are the high leverage points for your audience, or what are people asking you the most for? So it might seem simple to start a podcast and to get guests in the process, but it really isn't. And some people want to duplicate it, but they don't know how. Well, that is your value point.
Mm-hmm.
Your value point is that you've done this and you're now 21 episodes, 2 seasons in. So you can now use that blueprint and that process can now be monetized. Guess what? You can also have a community of entrepreneurs or people that listen or follow the podcast that are interested in going deeper and doing this for their own platform. So how about a community of entrepreneurs who want to learn how to leverage their voice, host powerful interviews, and now be able to grow their brand and get brand exposure? That now becomes your community. These people now help you to spread Big Potato Podcast because you now get them to grow. They become ambassadors and not fans. You don't want fans. Fans just say, I like it. It was awesome. Ambassadors tell people about what you do. When you create a tribe around your business, they become ambassadors. So you don't have to wait to tell people about the podcast. Your tribe will say, guys, there's an exciting episode comes out. It drops every Thursday at XYZ. Let's make sure that we tune in. Let's do a watch party. So your community now will push your message for you because of being connected to, as we said earlier in the conversation, the vision, the leadership. They are like, oh, we are building this with Kendell and Stuart. Let's make sure as many people as possible hear the Big Potato Podcast. Why do you get that impact? Because you are now feeding and nurturing your community on how to use their voice to get exposure, attract the best interview guests, and conduct successful interviews.
Fantastic.
Yeah, some really, really, really great stuff. Now, I know there are a lot of different platforms that allow for like online courses and so. Are there any that you would recommend?
I recommend the one that matches your budget and your delivery style. So some people, they are a business with a course. Some of us are course businesses. They're two different things. A business with a course means that the course is not the primary part of your business. You're just using that course as an income stream. In that case, you just need a very simple platform, bare bones platform that just allows you to host your videos and to sell the course. Now, if you are a course business, meaning that with the example that I just gave you guys, you would be a course business because you're teaching how to podcast, how to interview, how to speak, all these different things. It means that you would need a platform that's more robust where you can now connect multiple mini courses to create a bigger program. So people might start with point one with, let's say, it's the technical side of how to start a podcast, like the system to choose, the microphone to choose, how to test your guests. That may be one course. And then once they know how, then the second course might be choosing your topic, how to name your podcast, how long should your podcast be. So then you would be a course business because you're teaching multiple topics. So you would need a platform that's more robust, a platform like a Kajabi or a Kartra, go high level, a platform that's specific to having multiple courses. You can even build your WordPress that becomes your course platform. If you're doing just a one-off, you can do a Teachable or Thinkific because you are a business that has a course. But for a course business, you need a little more robust system.
Wow.
To me, one of the challenges is the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I'm going to use an example. I'm not going to call the guy's name, but we were looking at a guy offering some MBAs. Sorry. All right. We might have to start all over. There was a guy down here offering some MBAs. We were doing some research and it looked like this was all illusion then. You know, there's no accreditation, MBAs and things that don't exist. So the challenge to me is the imposter syndrome because you see so many imposters out there just trying to do quick cash grabs. And you don't want to fall into that category at all.
Absolutely. Like, you just have to have success or a measure of success in a particular thing, right? So if you are a 1, you could teach a 0. A 2 could teach a 1 and a 0. So that's a concept that I use in the online educational space. They call us edupreneurs because we're selling education. But the difference with online course and formal education, they're not to be confused as one and the same. people think that adult learning is like getting a degree, like your example of the guy doing the master's. We feel like only if we put master's behind it that it makes the course valid or credible. No, what makes it valid or credible is making me a promise and having a clear step to get me that promise. Now, you just spoke with me. I help people create online courses. You do know my qualifications, etc. But if you did not know, just me looking at your business, no pre-scripted anything, I demonstrated a depth of knowledge in my topic to be able to give you multiple ideas of what I was teaching.
Yes.
In the edupreneur space, people are looking for results. Adult learners don't want more information. So we don't actually want to feel like we're going for a doctorate, or we despise that. We did it because we thought it would give us a certain social status and a financial amount. That's the main reason why we did it. Not that we just wanted to pursue education for most people, right? So in the adult learning space, what people want is the result that you promised. So if you can help me to understand the technology to create and launch my first podcast within 30 days, I'm not paying you to give me a master's. I'm paying you to help me launch a podcast in 30 days. Once you can demonstrate that you have that ability, then I trust you and I will pay you. Because I'm not paying you for a qualification. I'm paying you for a result.
Right.
Very well said. Very well said. Food for thought. Now, we have so much more to talk about, but we kind of wind it down, you know. Stuart mentioned something there that wasn't on my list to talk about, but as he touched on it, any tips on combating imposter syndrome?
I think you'd always experience certain emotions like fear, self-doubt, even feeling like an imposter. But I think you have to be self-aware enough to continue to pursue and to continue to push forward and to do whatever it takes for you to believe in yourself and what you're doing. I did not always believe like I believe now, but I knew I could clearly get people a specific result. So I think the imposter is always going to be in the car with you. You just have to continue to drive. And at every next level, as you evolve in purpose, that thought of who are you, who do you think you are, it's going to surface at some point. But it's your awareness of it and not letting it cripple you to the point where you don't take action. Very early on in my journey, a very close family member said to me, you're just trying to be famous and to be seen on social media. Because at that time, social media was not like a big thing. People were just on there to connect with their friends. And when she said that to me, you know, the words, I had to think to myself, is that really why I'm doing what I'm doing? And that answer to that was no, but it seemed from her vantage point that that's what it was. Now, there's always going to be people that would say things that would trigger that silent imposter. You just have to ensure that your voice is louder than the external voices, because the external voices will come. Even more so now than when I started on social media. I think like social is vicious now. Like people just say what they want to say, how they want to say it. And they're not very cautious about what they say. You as an entrepreneur, you have to have high emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and even a filtering process. So when people say things about you, you think to yourself, is this true or is this their experience or their projection? And that will help you have a healthy balance. To get rid of it, you could never get rid of it. To shake those feelings, I don't believe you could ever shake them. They will always be in the car, but I say they could come for the ride. Just make sure you keep driving.
Thank you for that. And as you touched on the edupreneurship space, tell us some of the opportunities, some of the trends that are happening there right now as someone who is in it fully.
It's an amazing space to have you break into global entrepreneurship and, like I say, borderless business. I generate income from anywhere in the world because I demonstrate clear ability to deliver results. So it means that my business is not limited to any economy, any dollar amount. I can leverage my skill in any particular way and generate income from anywhere in the world. So with the education space, people are not concerned that I'm in Trinidad and Tobago and I have a Trini accent.
Right.
If they don't understand, they say, repeat that or slow it down. But they are concerned about my ability to help them get a result. Now, my ability to help them get a result, I have to become a student of my craft and my voice. So I am always learning new trends, every platform that comes out, I have to be the one that tests it. So just as you asked me, okay, what platform do you recommend? And I could clearly say, okay, this for this one, this, because I have to be aware of those things. So in the education space, it does not limit you to region, country, geography, who knows you, anything like that. Like the space becomes wide open.
Mm-hmm.
You now, as a specialist in your field, you become sought after when you demonstrate expertise in that field, and you can now generate money from anywhere in the world. So no economy really influences my income, because economies are always unstable, but there's somebody buying somewhere in the world at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that actually, brings me to my last question. When is the next cruise? I looking to go on a boat, you know.
Where are we going?
I don't think I'm doing the cruise anymore, and reason being, my movement has scaled tremendously. And the thing with the cruise, managing different personality types, people on a larger scale, it becomes more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of retreats, conferences, I just opened my very own coaching and co-working space in San Fernando. So I think I'm going to create experiences versus a cruise. So I'm sure I'd probably see you at one of those experiences.
Definitely.
We look forward to journeying to San Fernando.
Hey, I hear they have good people down there.
It's nice people.
What's the song? I'm going down San Fernando.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't they have all the tempo, you know? Yeah, man. Definitely. Crisha, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you here tonight. I mean, we touched on so many different things tonight, from understanding to finding and redefining your purpose and how important your purpose is really to life, really and truly, not to mention to your business ventures, your ideas, your entrepreneurship, and how it is you could really attach or align that purpose to your business model to become even more profitable, to your strategy. I mean, you name it, understanding the edupreneurship space. Definitely a word I heard for the first time tonight, you know, I'm not ashamed to say, but it makes absolute sense. And sometimes you operate in spaces that you don't even know that you're operating in. And I think Crisha also identified that tonight as well. We spoke about how we could really use the knowledge that you have, the skills that you have, which is really the ethos of entrepreneurship, and finding the pain points and the opportunities that you could really deliver. So I want to thank you for really sharing those insights with us tonight. Stuart, before we wrap up, anything you wanted to say, bro?
And I really, really enjoyed tonight. It was very educational. It was a lot of fun, very lighthearted. Our guest, I would have to say, is a true MVP. I've said this last 2-3 episodes. We're going to have to bring her back again.
I think we said that for all 21 episodes. But yeah, we definitely are going to have to talk to Crisha again, because I think conversations like these are necessary for people to have, entrepreneurs that have to really kind of refocus and re-engage with doing what you're doing and why you're doing it, where you're going as well.
Yeah, it was really a truly inspirational episode to me. You know, it's a real special edition, as we said from the start. Not something we normally would cover. You know, we try to focus on a certain format. But I really like how this gave the audience a lot of insight in terms of just opportunities. You know, your favorite word, opportunities. I really hope that at the end of the night, you find the Ikigai.
The Ikigai.
The Ikigai.
So, Crisha, Thank you so very much once again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. It's a pleasure. And you'll know I can go deeper. So there's no shortage of insight anytime. Just let me know time, dates, and I'll be there.
For sure. And one thing we also talk about, Stuart, is collaborating with our guests. Definitely look forward to collaborating with you in different ways going forward in the future.
Absolutely. This is my joy. This is my purpose.
Yeah, we could tell.
Yes, I could talk about this for hours and it not feel like hours because of how engaging and effortless it is. And I believe each of us has that space. We just have to find it and just go real deep with it. And it will transcend the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely so.
As I said, people just living their life, getting a degree, going to work. They don't have the opportunity to even look within to find out what their passion is.
Yeah.
Build a box.
Yeah, and they live a meaningless life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you die, they hire somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's how we've lived.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Yeah. There's so much more. And I'd like to, really share that with young people so that they don't go in a direction where, you're trying to figure out later on in life who you are. Like, figure out who you are and design your educational part around that. We push children in directions, sciences, businesses, social science, like these categories that has nothing to do or align with who they are, their purpose or their passion. They just push you into a space because a job that's high paying will align with that space. The job that's high paying aligns with your purpose.
Yeah, well, that's our culture, and that's parents' fear. They're so afraid that they will fail if you don't work for a boss.
Exactly. What, you want to be a dancer? That don't make no money. Like, dance in your bedroom?
You need a boss to pay your salary every month, or else you will die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other countries, other cultures, they will encourage that.
Mindset thing too. Yes, a lot of mindset shifts as a culture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The non-traditional, aspirations are usually not looked at as, a gateway to profitability.
Mm-hmm.
But it absolutely is. If you have the right strategies, the right tools, the right mentors, the right positioning. Like, I would have never thought that I could be Crisha from Trinidad, living in San Fernando, doing what I do, exposed to what I'm exposed to, just because I decided to go deep with one topic.
Okay. And my friends, folks, Big Potato Podcast tribe or community out there, as Crisha said, endorse it. Encourage your friends. Encourage your family. Let them know the Big Potato Podcast is the place to be. We are going to help entrepreneurs to develop. All of us will develop together. Going forward to greatness. And find your purpose, my friends. We leave you with those words.
Mm-hmm.
Take care.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendell and Stuart. Your time to grow, listen up. Take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn.